you know, this is just as high grade as anything we can grow here.
So the leaf cover would support the soil.
Yeah, yeah, it wouldn't dry out too much because there's obviously, you know, the sun
probably
wouldn't
help
touch
to
the
replenish
ground
it
anywhere.
to the soil because it takes about 27 days for it to filter through the plant back into the soil.
Yep.
So probably help to replenish.
And it's got such great tap roots, it'll be going down deeper than anything, breaking up the soil. And yeah, it's just an amazing crop. But that's what we should be seeing here in Canada as well.
Could be Saskatchewan.
Huge fields actually alter mass terrain. They actually change the landscape.
Yes and no. I would imagine that it's been pretty much like that. You know, regardless of the cannabis use in that area, I don't think that there's much of a difference between areas of Morocco where they're growing cannabis and areas that are not. There are certain communities where it's very tolerated. I think when you get closer to the larger cities and stuff, less of it's being grown. But the farther you go away from the cities, the more larger and open fields that you find. Yeah, I thought this was a little interesting piece here. Like I say, people all over the world are using more and more of cannabis in general as each year goes by, and some people are willing to pay ridiculous amounts for it, but that's prohibition for you. And so, yeah, like I say, I'm going to just kind of run through these. This next one is just all too obvious. Yeah, maybe I'll just stop here for a minute. Okay. So, we talk about legalizing cannabis, but it's so vague that really we need to start having some more specific discussions about the various models. So, next year, I hope to come and have something much more structured here where I'm able to compare various models of legalization. Because a lot of people have this fear of this corporate cannabis that is very regulated, overtaxed, and not as high the quality as we would like. And for those of us fighting for legalization, that would in many ways be our worst nightmare. On the other hand though, as in any industry, proper regulation and intelligent policy can not only help maximize the potential government revenues from any industry, but also improve the overall community and include as many people as possible in the legitimate marketplace. Because cannabis isn't the only industry where there's a black market. I used to hitchhike up and down Island all the time, and I would say about a quarter of the construction people, like business owners, small contractors and stuff that I talked to, either were hiring people under the table or had hired, or they do work on their own home under the table while they had a legitimate construction business elsewhere. You know, there's a whole variety of instances where the red tape for hiring people legally or buying things legally and paying their taxes just doesn't make sense, and so you go outside the legal system. It's critical that when cannabis becomes legalized, that we create a system whereby those people trying to have small businesses and small enterprises can enter into the marketplace. If we create a regulatory system where every plant or product has to be patented and tested and controlled and regulated to the point where the only people that can enter the market are going to be large corporations, we're going to see a huge, black market continue in the cannabis industry. Certainly people that are already carrying this industry, no matter how many billions of dollars that you say it is, aren't just going to get out of the work because suddenly you can buy it down at the corner store. Certainly there may be a loss in the market in a way, but it will be impossible for the authorities to determine who's smoking legal pot or not once that barrier goes down. And so while they may increase the penalties for people growing pot without licenses or in certain circumstances, the fact is that there will always be people willing to supply that marketplace if they're not able to enter into it legally. On the other hand, if we regulate the products in a comparable model to the wine industry, where it would be very easy for you to grow your own grapes and make your own stuff at home. As long as you're not selling any of it in the market, then there's no problem at all. Or you could have a place in the country where you would be, have a little bed and breakfast, maybe a little restaurant out in the countryside. People could come and see your plants in the greenhouses and see it curing, and then come and see the final product and roll it up with some of the hash that you get to see being made in the corner while your cannabis latte is being made. This is something that would really benefit agricultural communities. Revitalizing them in a lot of different ways. We would also see, much like the wine industry, there would be restaurants specializing in certain local varieties, maybe some national varieties. You'd have stores on the corner as well that would be regulated. And again, we probably want to have a new system that would be a little bit more strict than the restrictions around alcohol use, but not much more. I think there's going to be, concessions made on either side. To be sure, there's issues around selling to youth, and it may be that the penalties for sharing or selling to youth may increase dramatically, such that there's a certain age limit, and some would like to see 16 because medically speaking, that's where it's not going to impact your health beyond. It may end up being 18 because some rights kick in at that age. But there certainly will be a point where the penalties for distributing to youth would be increased quite likely, but not necessarily. But that, again, is a likely concession in a sense that we could expect to be making. And then one of the real nuances to this is patenting and coming up with either various strains or other cannabis products that would meet regulatory standards. And that's where a lot of this comes down to. This is not my area of expertise, though I'm trying to learn.
It'll be like Coca-Cola and a new
but,
Coke.
Not necessarily. See, I'm getting hands already. Yeah.
The thing about the government too is what they could do is genetic modify strains so that they would know what strain is theirs and stuff like that, which would be
Don't give them ideas.
Oh, yeah. Well,
which would be
we can't give the drug
all that.
companies and the governments any ideas they don't already have. That's for sure. And so